Alright everyone, a couple of things have been linking in my head, and I've done this video in myself and out loud and to others about 6 different times over. So we're going to repeat it, we're going to make it a little bit easier. This dropped yesterday. Stories from the Outlands. This is Horizon's entry into it.
Alright, dear. I'll tell you the story but one last time. Once upon a time, a kingdom was in a terrible state.
This kingdom is Olympus. Specifically, I believe that it's Hammond Robotics at a time before Titanfall 2, but after Titanfall 1.
And they needed a hero to save it. Someone brave and true to her word. When
Dr.
this
Mary
hero
Summers.
said she'd save us all,
That is the center of the new map.
you knew she'd
think
find
being
a way to do
constructed.
it. But it wasn't without sacrifice.
Olympus, Mount Olympus. If Mount Olympus is above the rabble is everybody else on Solus. Olympus here is floating away from everything else. It's where the elites are. It's where the strong, not the strongest, but the smartest, the richest. It's where Loba and her family are from. The trailer that has Loba coming out of Skulltown and Revenant zooming in and looking at her, and it says last seen on Olympus. That is where she became her thief. That is where her dad died. That is where the events of Revenant's intro into Apex Legends came from. Marcus stole something from someone on Olympus.
For the hero had someone very special in her life. Someone she loved more than anything.
However, that was after the events
And
of
all
this.
she wanted was a
the
kingdom
first half of this.
safe for him. But just when it felt like the world was against her, and her sacrifices were all for naught,
Branthium. That's how you pronounce it. Or Branthium. But it's Branthium.
hope
an element.
emerged.
Which, if you look for an element in terms of what's going on around here, you have your different elements that are different aspects of it. Branthium is really close to the event horizon of that black hole.
And there was just one more thing to do. The
First,
hero
I didn't know who
must
it was.
travel to faraway lands to find the crystals that would save us all.
Some
but
of the
first-
backstory.
She made a promise. I'll be back, and we'll be together soon.
By the way,
You promised?
the artwork that Respawn goes into these is amazing. Look at the little glimmering flicker right there of his eye. That's a tear
My
fall.
love.
Another storytelling.
And although
This is on Olympus. This is a section of Olympus that I don't think we are going to be able to see. And I say that because these over here are past a very big blue portal effect. I think what's being covered up is the original launch site. So where they landed with the Branthium. That's where I think this is currently taking place. And these are Hammond colors, by the way.
the hero
There's definitely a
was
link
very
there.
scared, this special person made her brave. She gave her word. She would go to the ends of the universe for
A
him
ship.
and return with the kingdom saved.
Like the sleek design of that jump ship. Now, right over here to the left, there is an anomaly forming. And I think it's a gravity anomaly, smaller than the black hole here. Because they're tethering out near there, where I think they're going to be collecting particle samples of it. And that's what I think they're going to be condensing down into the material.
These faraway
They're
lands
technically
are deep,
downriver from
dark, uncharted. But as any
Dark as
hero knows, if there's no risk, no journey into the unknown.
Now they condensed everything in a smaller gravity field. What we see in season 7 trailer that came out today is that this will generate a mini gravity well, a mini black hole. So they created a mini black hole, where she did right here, to condense the material into a crystalline form.
There's no discovery.
And tell me that doesn't look like the crafting material, because that's my theory right now. That's theory number 1. This is crafting material in crystalline form, which, if the energy output from just a small piece is so huge, imagine, especially a more refined one, what that can do. The amount of energy that they're losing from getting just a few grams, that looks pretty small. But just from that one crystal is enough to save the energy problem that Olympus is having. And I think the energy problem that Olympus is having is, I think that their anti-gravity is going offline. That's the worst thing you could have from a floating city. And if Solus looks anything like what it currently does for Apex, you don't want to crash land anywhere. And this is a big place.
And with the crystals in hand, and the certainty of a promise kept, all the fear washed away.
Branthium transfer complete.
So she has everything she needs now. She sent some of the Branthium over, and she sent the data over. Never do that. If you're on the cutting edge of such high technology, always go with it.
Do you have it?
Now that voice is either Hammond's son, or it's Hammond. It's hard to say. Revenant plays a very specific part in a lot of this.
And in the end, well, they lived happily ever after.
Sorry, dearie.
We're going to pause it right there for a second. Dearie, specifically Ashes to Ashes Quest Season 5. Some of the things that you hear between Loba and the voice, if you are there long enough and you don't plug in the head just yet, you hear a few lines. Most people don't get past Beta Tango to Quebec, Juliet 8 Romeo, Oscar 1 Whiskey. I stayed and looped around. And what you start hearing is lines like this one in particular. And this is the important one. Ah, just a wee bit of betrayal before breakfast, eh, dearie? That's the same line. In fact, if you go back to Ash, this is somebody that was playing it. This is Titanfall. Also notice that's Wraith's warping technology, I might add. Wraith's experiment and everything that happened would have happened around the time of Titanfall 2.
Lisk has put a high price on your head, pilot. Dead or alive, that makes you worth something to...
That voice, that's Ash. Now, we're going to go back just a second.
Worth something to me.
Something to me. And here.
Sorry, dearie.
Dearie. This is Ash in human form. We get to see Ash before she's a synthetic life form. And she portrays Liza, leaving her for dead to drift closer into a black hole. That means they're not using the energy to save Olympus. They're using it for something else. Now that's 87 years. 31,755 days is 87 years. What's interesting is it says currently its local time is 246 days. Now it could have taken them a long time to get out here, or she could have been floating around this black hole for almost a year. It's possible. This points to it being that she's been here for at least the 246 days. But something you have to understand about the way a black hole is theorized to work is that the farther away you are, the more time is normal. But the closer you get to the center of that black hole, or your event horizon, which should be right about here actually, time for you is going to be slower than time to everyone else. nobody really knows, but it's something that what a black hole does. It warps gravity, it warps time and space. And it also gives you this really beautifully representation here of a curve that just keeps going around. It is both a two-dimensional plane and a three-dimensional plane. Her ship is here along this plane. If her ship was up here, anywhere up here, it would look the same. No matter where you look at this black hole, it's going to look the same. I think this black hole was actually the star for Solus that has basically skipped the supernova process. It's something that can happen. It's rare instead of going supernova, or it just happens to be one that's close enough that they can see. But where she's at right now, it's probably right about here. She's not far enough in to get the compressing, to get the heat, and to have to worry about those things. But right in here is where everything condenses down. That's why it's so bright. We have heat just like you would have from the sun. This is just pretty. And she thinks she's not going to see anyone. So we have this dream. You can tell because it's wibbly wobbly over here. She's imagining him growing up and dying before she'll get back.
And just how is it? They lived happily ever after, I hear you asking.
Now this
Because
simulation
my
means that she can use this, from what the computer is saying, to power something. Her ship, but more specific,
this isn't the end of our story.
another special power. So what we have here, we're going to go frame by frame, is what's appearing is she's making a mini black hole right here. And she's going to use this as a gravitational pull to slingshot herself away from the real event horizon. So we see spatial anomaly, and then what we see is this tether starts to come over from it. And the more that this forms and becomes stable, the more it pulls. And the more it's pulling from this way, thus creating the ripple effect here, and the same circular effect we saw, but at the same time it's being condensed but still being sucked in. Now we have here spatial anomalies warping this way, so we're seeing it from her frame. Here's the dust coming in, here's the effect coming in, and what she's creating is a stable, basically wormhole, using the gravity wave. And we're about to see it as everything is warping in and it's starting to warp even more. Is she's going to use this to head this way and slingshot out that way. It's giving her the boost that she needs. It's also going to be affecting time. Nope, a little soon. There she goes. So she just shot off this way. But she went this way and it slingshotted her out. It's a great maneuver. Brilliant idea. The only problem is she's expecting it to be less than a year. And you can see how sad she is when she gets back and he's not there. It's a sad story. However, this is something that I picked up after watching this a few times. I'm pretty sure this is Solus. If you look at a picture of Solus in the Titanfall wiki, it looks very similar to this, very Earth-like. This green paper means that somebody went over this and it's been peeling away. So whatever happened, somebody tried to cover it up. But now we have what's happening here.
Don't worry, my boy. I'll keep that promise yet.
So I'm pretty sure her ship crashed here, and I'm pretty sure it crashed because it got shot at, just like the ship that we're going to watch in the trailer that dropped today for Season 7. But this wasn't supposed to happen. And you can tell by how cracked and blown out this is. But my theory is that Ash and Hammond tried to use the Branthium either as a weapon, the time dilation weapon, which this very much could be very similar to the one that you have in Titanfall 2, the fold weapon, or just to use it to see what kind of explosion they can get out of it, what kind of energy release they can get out of it. And in doing so, they clearly failed. They messed up. Because that's what happens when you take the head researcher, the head doctor, and try and kill her.
It's just a matter of time.
technically, time travel is possible. So I understand that there for her. Now, within the Titanfall universe, blur that over there. You know, we're just going to reload the page. There we go. We don't need any of that junk there. There's a few things that line up here. So 175 years ago was the start of Hammond Engineering. Back in the year 2200, just about. That's when they create the jump drive and so on. And the events that take place in Titanfall 1 is 2210. Now, this last paragraph here, this is the important one we want to focus our eyes on. As of Apex Legends release, the current year is 2733. So if we go back 87 years from now, we're in 2646. Some of the things that are interesting here is this is Jack Cooper from Titanfall 2, dog tag stating that he was born October 6, 87. So for 87, that's going to put him in the 2487 time. So that's just about 63 years after this happened, but before Apex Legends. See, Apex Legends, everything that happened with that was about that 20-year gap. It's further up in here from when Titanfall 2 ended. Let's see if we can find the specifics here. I think it is in this. Titan Wars took place 20 years ago, and the IMC operating on the frontier at least 25 years ago. So yeah, about 20 years ago. Titanfall 2 ended. So things start to line up here. About 20 years ago, or in our case, 87 for Horizon, Titanfall 2 ended. Ash is gone. Blisk, our lovely Cuban Blisk, head of the Apex Games, is doing things along with Hammond Robotics. What could possibly be Mr. Hammond that's mentioned to pilots during the Battle of Demeter, Titanfall 1. However, going back to this timeline, 2702, so a decade ago, right? No, so it says the Titanfall. Yeah, no, I did find it. Okay. So the Frontier War ended a decade ago, 10 years. All right. Jack Cooper. So this is the dog tags of Jack Cooper from Titanfall 2. And notice this says October 6th, 87. Now for 87, that is 60 years before the events of Horizon getting stranded. But at the same time, the Frontier Wars, or about at the same time, just after it, ended. The events of Titanfall 2 ended right at the time where Jack Cooper would be about the age, and it gets referenced in here, to be about just before 30. Loba. Her father dies in 2702. And with Loba's dad dead, Marcus there, that gives us 28 years before the events of now. Here's the interesting things about it. Loba is from Olympus. Marcus dies on Olympus. Revenant is doing his dirty work on Olympus. Here's the year for when the father dies. It says that he committed a high-profile theft in the year 2702. He stole something from Hammond. That's why Hammond's after him. So, taking this into consideration, we head over here.
Oh man, that thing is is giving us a really nice glow. Oh, come on, dude. You're always crowded. That was gonna be the money shot.
Stop fooling around with yourself, yeah? Thanks to you, all my crap's on that ship.
Yeah, well, that...
By the way, notice a recurring theme here that keeps coming up. It's the phrase that we had happen with Revenant. It's the phrase that we had happen repeatedly under the Revenant reveal trailer. And that's... don't trust Hammond. Hammond brings the World Harvester down. They collect whatever they want. The World Harvester, the Planetary Harvester, is there to collect material, minerals. They have harvesters in Titanfall 2, Titanfall 1. You can see them. They're harvesting them from the center of this map, which is on the world Talos. And as they get whatever they want, the rocket launches, disturbing the volcano and the activity here on Talos.
What's the plan, right?
Wrecking Talos.
Okay, new plan. Follow the rocket.
Talos is never going to be the same.
Wait, what? You don't know how to fly? Do you? Do you?
I know how to fly.
That's because Pathfinder's awesome.
There she is. Bloody hell. Bath, can you track the jump signature?
I can. Go me.
Right. Are you ready for this?
Am I ready? Ready for what?
Punch it.
Hey, not too shabby.
Now, from the view of Horizon, she's about here. Her views of this explosion right here, which means her ship probably crashed right about there. In fact, I think she's specifically this house. She was shot down, just like what these guys are about to have. Notice there's that fuel section off to the left. The rocket launched from here, specifically. So the fact that there is this massive blue ball, this horrific whatever this is in a direct response to either the ship coming back and it losing its capability of keeping the Branthium stable, or they specifically triggered it to cause an
Drop me off
effect.
at the Lido deck. I'm late for my massage.
So now, notice the guns. It's both up and down. And this thing has enough view to be able to hit anything that's up here. Same thing for below. Got sky here, maybe some water over there. This map is huge. But notice this was being built from probably this area, more specifically. And you can't quite tell, but there's a lot of buildings in here. There's a lot of tech that we don't see. There could even have been a city over in here for all that we can tell.
What is that?
Maybe it's the welcome committee.
We got a little particle accelerator bolts.
Bye, friend.
Bye, friend. Now you see how Pathfinder falls into here, inside the ship. This dome, if we go back to the lore, under Ash, I don't believe it will say too much specifically about it because of where we're at. But if we go back into it here, we go back to Ash, we go back to looking at Ash. What we find out further down, and what ends up happening, is Vision Diagnostics has to rebuild her, right? All these things that happen on Typhon. This is when she got killed, quote unquote, on Typhon. But unfortunately, what ended up happening after that supposed death is that Vincent Dynamics remakes her to be useful to her. But more specifically, sometime around 2730, there it is again, Hammer Robotics made a contract with Loba. So Hammond is back in right here. They say sometime around 2730. It's probably 2731 or 32, depending on the season change for us. All these things about Kings Canyon. What's interesting is that if you haven't done the comic yet for season 6, I mean, you've only got a week left. This is going to be too much of a spoiler territory here, but Pathfinder finds her memory bank, finds her after that whole bit of season 6, thrown in a dumpster, apparently, possibly about to die, and rebuilds her. But there's one bit of information that is very, very interesting. Let's see if I can find it real quick here. Here it is. So Ash's head was thrown by Cuban Blisk into some kind of blue energy mass, seemingly as a last-ditch effort for some kind of plan. That's this. Everything points back to Olympus. Everything about Hammond starts with Olympus. The Branthium. It's here. The planet Harvester that landed on Talos. That was for Branthium. Ooh. This place is pretty.
Oh dear. Not very light on his feet, is he?
Olympus Arena active.
Looks like the game's afoot.
Now, the reason why the Olympus Arena is active is very specific. We're going to go into some files over here. Those are not the files I want. Now then, the reason why the Olympus Arena is active is because of this. Our crafting material, if you zoom in here on this, our crafting material is a refined version of Branthium. That's theory number 2, that Branthium is now refined over here because the unstable version creates the wormhole. Or not the wormhole, I'm sorry. Because the unstable version creates that massive dome, that massive horridness that ended up meching up Olympus.
Oh, you might need this.
So the games are here to cover up what Hammond and the Syndicate want. The Syndicate is run by Cuban Blisk from Titanfall 2. Ash was one of his apex predators that he had.
Chew on this, Jack!
Now there's a theory that Jack could be the name of a Revenant. It lines up within the timeline. Rain Day Gaming said it, and after pouring over everything, he might not be as wrong as I thought originally. So if Hammond's son is Jack and was betrayed by the rest of Hammond Industries, or if Hammond himself is Revenant, it's a possibility. It could also be Jack Cooper was one of the ideas, one of the pilot, but the faces don't match up when you go back and you look at the Revenant launch trailer. I think it's Hammond's son. Because the timeline of when he did his act and when he and everything else, it's still within the 175-year gap that we found back on the timeline here. Because Revenant's been around an awful long time. Awfully long time. A lot longer than I think we first realized. That's an L-Star. So we got smoke from a Bangalore.
Eyes up, lads.
I will say this. Every single one of those fires a single round, okay? This is clearly a flatline. This is a Havoc. That's an L-Star firing a single round. Does the L-Star have an alternate mode now? I bet it does. Theory number 3.
Shall we carry on then?
Shall carry on. Oh shit, she's trying to kill me. Theory number 4, disruptor rounds will come back in a mode where you have more vehicles than you should. Disruptor rounds mess up vehicles.
Alright, lads. Time to go.
Whoa, what? Are you insane?
I'm a bloody genius.
I think that she's able to launch up and throw her ult like that. Otherwise, it's got to be able to go a lot farther than, say, Octane's ult. Just look how high off the ground it is. And sure enough, it's creating a gravity well. Very pretty.
I do love field research. Whoops a daisy. You got a little something there.
Now, going into everything from Ash, from the games, from things from Titanfall. Here's the last theory. Here's the tie-in of everything. Why was the games done to Kings Canyon? It was to cover up the labs. Why were the games, and that was Solus, on Talos? It was to cover up the planet harvest and the harvester that's going down, because what is it that is needed to make Branthium? Extreme pressure and heat. More specifically, extreme gravity pressure. Like a black hole. Like a mini gravity well. That makes Branthium into a crystalline form. You refine that crystalline form, you get our crafting material. But more specifically, Hammond just gutted a planet, launched their rocket that has everything from that planet. Well, that's weird. Why did it do that? Just launched everything that it got from that planet. And in the process, blew up the planet, or at least World's Edge map. Completely wrecked it. Completely. And in doing so, launches to Olympus, or near Olympus. We only tracked its coordinates to there. But if you notice, when we go back through this, and we actually look at that planetscape.
Me off at the Lido deck. I'm late for my massage.
Nowhere on here do we see a giant rocket that has landed. Unless it's there. This actually might be it. This might be the rocket right here. It's hard to tell even if you zoom in, but it could be a rocket. And it's the only thing that looks like it could be rocket on this map. And this map is huge. But it's the only thing on here that actually looks like it could be. Unless it's on the far side and we can't see it. But you can't see the rocket. But it's here. So why would Hammond bring the games here? It's a cover-up. While everybody's fighting on the surface and the Bloodsport's doing all of its thing, what's really happening? Ash, along with Bisk, sorry. Ash, along with Bisk, the Syndicate, whether that's part of Hammond or not, is here for this. They're here for the material that either is still in the center of this, or specifically, they created this gravity well, they created this mass to finish harvesting the material. So I'm going to say it's probably one of two ways. Either this is going to condense down and they're going to get the material out of it, or the data and everything that happened here is going to be collected. And one thing is for sure, our girl here,
All right, lad.
she's going to hear Ash's voice and she's going to lose it. A bit of betrayal for breakfast, eh, dearie? There's going to be a confrontation. It's going to happen. So that's where we're at. Hammond's doing something dirty and underhanded again. And in the process of that, our legends are fighting as the distraction. And it's all returns to one thing. One thing completely. One thing utterly. Ashes to ashes. The path ends here. Welcome to Olympus. Because all roads lead to to Branthium. So I'm excited. I'm excited for what Season 7 is going to bring. I've been so giddy with everything. I've had goosebumps all day. My mind couldn't stop from thinking. Because Titanfall 1, Titanfall 2, and all of Apex is coming to a crescendo here. Or at least before the crescendo, it's merging back together. Ash, Brisk. All of our legends. They're all side stories to what the real plotline is, what the bad guys are really doing. I think Branthium, I think the Fold weapon, I think all of that is going to be intertwined and used. And I think either Titanfall Season 8, 9, 10, if they go that far, or Titanfall 2, or not Titanfall 2, Titanfall 3, Apex Legends 2, however they do the ending, that's what we're going to get. We're going to have another shot at getting Ruben. So I'm excited. Let me know what you guys think. Likes, dislikes, subscribe to the channel. And, of course, if you have your own theories, post them in the comments. We'll see if I'm right. Crafting material being Branthium. Horizon's going to go after Ash. And the big blue ball of time and space warp is why Hammond's here, using the games as a cover. They're up to something. I'll see everybody later. Hey everybody, so this posted a day ago, and because I'm editing by myself, it takes forever sometimes, especially when you have multiple projects. And right now I have more projects on my plate than I've ever had, trying to get some quality content out to everybody. But go figure that in this minute and 24 seconds, it confirms some theories of mine. Now you guys just got done hearing my theories laid out. 1, 2, 3. Boom, boom, boom. We're going to watch this. We're going to keep this turned down because apparently it was too loud last time. There we go. But we're going to watch it. I'm going to pause it. We're going to extend out what was originally supposed to be the end of my theory video. But let's take a look at this.
Once thought lost into the abyss of space, Dr. Mary Summers has returned to become the legend of Olympus.
She's got a lot of time on her hands. Now, this little spot here, we'll try just a little bit more. Look at this. We are inside the outer dome, and inside there's an inner dome with a bright light, like Branthium's bright light near the event horizon, near the black hole. Also see the destruction inside? It'll show it again from another view. I was right about this not supposed to be here, that this was caused by an accident. Or on purpose. And that is probably one of her idle animations, which is the black hole that her singularity device makes going a little unstable. Until she makes it better. That's going to be fun to do to people. Just going to say that now for her tactical. I was right about that.
Propelling legends upward and boosting them on exit, allowing squads to gain the advantageous high ground. Away we go! Or you can have a little fun with your enemies.
Yeah, I'll be doing that. Oh, that's wrong.
Advanced spacesuit allows her to maneuver in midair and protects her on impact.
Now, the protection on impact makes me wonder because we all have jump jets, so it shouldn't be anything that really protects her from impact. However, being able to maneuver a lot better in the air is going to be something nice, because if you're in a gravity lift up from her tactical or jumping out of a window in this case, the fact that she can move around a lot more might be a turning point. Kind of like the double jump for Caustic, or not Caustic, for Artane.
Thanks, jump jets. Let's do this. But there is no greater ally
a vacuum.
The depths of space.
Singularity deployed.
See how far she throws that? I called that. I called that specifically saying she either has to throw it far or be able to jump up and throw it. Also, these look like parts of ships that have been cut in half. Looking out over here, we got a little tail fin action and so on going on.
Creates a micro black hole.
Oh, they are ships. They look like cargo ships. So they're cargo ships.
Perfect for pulling squads out of cover and holding them for the kill.
The fact that it holds them in place is going to piss people off incredibly, because this is the first time something's going to keep you in place. You do this plus either a well-timed Bangalore ult, or heaven forbid a Gibraltar ult, or even a Caustic ult, or even Crypto's drone going off, you're going to cause some serious damage.
What's a wee singularity between friends?
Horizon is conducting her most important research yet.
Didn't take it personal, dear. I've got me a promise to keep.
Now, on top of all this, we're gonna zoom out here. We're gonna go back to Apex. There has been some other activity that has been going on recently, and it's on the actual Apex website or on their YouTube. That's not the launch trailer. Don't pause that. It's the gameplay trailer. 4 days ago, this launched. This is another one that breaks it down. First off, it shows the scale of the map. This place is going to be huge. I wonder if you can even get up on top of these with Pathfinder, or if these are unable to be in locations. We've got a zip line over here. We've got some cargo containers. We've got, it looks like a respawn beacon there. The center point, it's going to show what exactly it's used for. Same thing over here. And by the looks of it, you can even see they're Wraith portals. It says Phase Runners. Runners? I'm pretty sure Phase Runners, yes. Which, if you're wondering, it says that right here. That kind of confirms what I was saying, though. I like that people are trying to shoot them down.
Let's have a wee play with the laws of physics, shall we?
Yeah, so it's a phase shift, just like what we have with Kings Canyon, which looks like a particle accelerator, something else I was mentioning. Oh, nice shot. A little far away for that, but love the effect. Absolutely love the effect. Now we get another view, and the more I'm seeing over here, the more it looks like it could be the landing and launch pad. Because if you're launching off of a city like this, you can't have all that force going down into it. It's got to be dispersed. Hence the different angles right here. So it probably disperses the shock of rocket launching and firing off. And then here we have, well, there's something down there. It looks like probably the opposite end of this, whatever this does. Which I'm starting to wonder about, because you don't make it look like a mountain on one side and completely industrial on the other and have it go all the way down to the bottom if it's just this. I think this is going to be something else important. But here's that little, maybe gasoline, something else that we saw from the other trailers. Here we go. So things inside of there are alive. It looks like part of this was peeled up in the process of this. We're going to let this play. Oh, it's a fan. It's what's keeping the city up in the air. That makes total sense. We're going to back that up in just a couple seconds. It's a fan. It's a giant fan to keep the city upright. These are also things to help. If you lose power to this, you're done. What did I say? What exactly did I say? 100%. The biggest threat of a floating city is falling. So 100%, that's what it is. We can barely see it down here. But there's a Hammond logo. Warp travel. Perhaps this city's older than we think. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that the concept of phase of warping into a location or warping out was created here. that they created the first warp capability. So Horizon being gone, and that time that it took 245 days, that's how long I think it took to get to that point. That makes sense because it would take a forever amount of time for us just to get to our sun, let alone be able to do anything. So it confirmed an afterthought of mine. Not quite the full theory that I had. It's one of them. Now, before she finishes the line, she's going to say "wee bit violent." If you listen closely, in fact, we'll replay it and we're going to turn up the volume so that we can hear it. She talks about the fact that there's a new kind of experiment that her home has conducting, and that's really dangerous. Host to a new experiment. Sorry, one that hosts a complex problem. So she knows something else is going on. There's no way the games show up here like this. She knows there's something wrong. Now, we have the inside. Her apartment is over here past the Hammond sign. I was right, this is definitely Hammond. This is probably the early roots of Hammond, even. We have this big phase runner that has been blown outward. We have panels of buildings being lifted up, heading, in this case, heading towards this direction. That one's heading away, but it might just be an optical illusion of the fact. But there's a vortex in here. And I bet that if you go underneath or you get closer to it, I bet it's going to be a hazard. That's going to be my theory looking at this now, that there's going to be a hazard here. But I was right. It's definitely something that should not have happened in here. So it's not the rocket launch site, though, because it's too far recessed down, unless this was all supposed to be higher up. But I don't think so, looking at the terrain. So judging from this, either the rocket got launched over here, or maybe this, in fact, was a launch platform. But it should be more even with up here than anything else. Still, I was right about that, at least. Or specifically this up here. This map is going to be pretty. Tomorrow we're going to play the hell out of it. And it's going to... That's a sweet 99. Pretty sure, yeah, it's 99. That's sweet, looking like a Viper. And this map is going to be huge. Also, we had talks about it between the community that this will be an event or something. I think it's the new dropship, because this is something that has a tower on it, but this was floating around the map before. So either it's a one-time mode or this is going to be the new dropship.
Every choice you made led to failure.
My squad's gonna beat up your squad.
This concept and this idea is amazing. The fact that you can actually have people link up into clubs with different symbols that you can create. I don't know how uniform this is going to be or how amazing this is going to be, but this means people that want to roll together as a pack and do good and compete against others as a group. Destiny did this, and I know a few other games have done this. This is something that I was not expecting, but I will say this: it is a welcome. And out of the logos, I want this one. That one, I want one. That's not too bad. This one, and yeah, I might take something like that. But this is an amazing idea. huge.
I expect the results of this will be utterly delightful.
Hop in, mates. We're taking this side for
Now, what they do here also blew my mind. Because you know people would have thought of this, but it would have taken like months before it caught on. Instead, they came out with it 100% right off the back. You can put a caustic trap on top. You can put a Gibraltar shield on top. You can put Sheila on the back. How much fun is this going to be? I'm going to wake up the entire household yelling at how much fun this is going to be. Please have a mode where you're doing that. Also, we're about to see it. I said it with the disruptor rounds. Arc stars are the same thing. They're going to disable vehicles. Ah! I called it!
They say time heals all wounds.
Yep, there it is.
The test. AUT.
Gibraltar. Gibraltar combo.
I made a promise. I intend on keeping it.
Okay, it's coming out tomorrow. This video is dropping tonight. The time, I don't even have the time. I know that it's before 9 o'clock. So most people aren't even going to see this. There's an election going on. There's so much stuff going on. But we're going to see what else I'm right about. Horizon knows that something's up. Those that watch this with me know that something's up. I know that something's up. Hammond is after something here. That's the only reason why the games are here. It's a cover. And Horizon is backing that up. Alright, everyone. I'll see you in matches tomorrow.